So this story I'm gonna call Miracle. As you may already know, Miracle is something special, like in a special event or a very special person or anything amazing that is extremely, unbelievably magical. Um, Here's my ultrasound photo. If you can see proper, there's the shadow of what looks like a dog. Um, my pregnancy happened in 2012, and that was the ultrasound photo. So it was the only clinic that I could have gone to in 2012. After being pregnant for approximately a month, you could see the little growth there of the child. Um, I remember clearly that the night that the baby was conceived, which was meant created, as the sperm supposedly went in, I do remember there was a bunch of aliens on the roof. As feeling as a blind person, a person can always detect and sense what is around and what is there. So I did see with my eyes, with or without, that there were aliens definitely on top of my ceiling, which was Balthazar's home at that time in Wilbur, Reseda. And I remember clearly seeing pink lights all over, and every time I see pink lights, it felt like it was some sort of like love serum or some sort of like love power. And that was around, and I don't know where the lights went off, and a sexual act occurred, but strangely for a male, regardless if it's a vampire, and and the vampire size is around the same size as mine, so I mean, but the penis felt the size of a syringe, and definitely I didn't feel it. So if anyone puts a tampon in or a syringe in, of course no one's gonna really feel it. So I mean, what happened then? I just remember shortly after when I went to the miracle clinic that someone had invisibly told me that it was Blue Rival's kid or some bright side guy's kid, and I just said no, it's Balthazar's kid because I had sexual relations. But all in all, to combine this together, for a child to be born without actually being created with love and actual love-making feelings, it obviously leaves life and creation depressed and without enough love. So, I mean, the miracle to this story is if there was no child that was found that was 3 months after the abortion, because the abortion did take place at Women's Health Clinic and the child was 3 months, which would be considered premature. And if the child wasn't strange enough, that soul in there that appears definitely appears as the daughter I ended up receiving shortly after. So, getting to the point of all this and the missing Book of Enoch is obviously when my father had contacted me, my given father, during my attendance at St. Kateri. Um, it's Catholic Church, and my father had mentioned what happened to the Book of Enoch. And as I started to piece all this up together, is as I was informed, the Book of Enoch had golden aliens that were around Moses during the 3rd century. And just why were there golden aliens around Moses, and the story about Mary Margaret getting a miracle pregnancy? How would a miracle pregnancy occur if there was no sperm? And if there was no sperm or no sexual relation, just how would a child be created? So I mean, to really have a conversation about this obviously meant that if it is solely and really true that there was no sexual relations that occurred, then obviously it was some sort of alien insemination, since the aliens have been around since the 3rd century. So when referring to family members or having a new child or a wedding or some sort of relationship like that, if you look at blood and everything else, is it really your child? So I can't honestly say that my dog is actually my child, but I did ironically find him at 3 weeks of age, and I did lose the child at 3 months. So I mean, to talk about life and everyone else, I'm just saying, like, when you finally get to the end of the maze of life, and you finally meet the love of your life, your soulmate, your divine couple, would you want to carry like 10 million children that you have created over all this time and said, oh, I wed, I have children, I have whatever, so called whatever, like, issue or whatever thing you may have? Like, how do you expect your divine partner to actually feel about these type of situation? And how do you expect your divine partner to actually be okay with it? Especially if your divine partner doesn't have anything of that sort. So I'm just saying, like, maybe the insemination, maybe everything that happens, that occurs around the sex, around the insemination, around everything that happens, may, maybe it's supposed to happen. And and maybe it's time to have children. Maybe it's meant to be. But I'm just saying, for the people that do have children, I wish you the best, and I hope that when you get at the end of your maze, you wouldn't be there for something shockingly sad or shockingly surprising to your divine partner. If you don't know who the guy in the statue is holding an old kind of Flintstone rocked commandments written down on rock, that's Moses from the 3rd century. He was a guy with the 10 Commandments that he heard God had told him what the 10 Commandments were. In the 10 Commandments, there's possibly only like two lines that really instill upon me is thou shalt not kill, which is one. And thou shalt not kill comes along with possibly starting bad drama or bad karma or abuse. Second, the other quote that stuck with me the entire time is thou shalt not sleep with thy neighbor's wife. Meaning, when referring to divinity and things like that, how can you possibly have real sexual relations with someone that's not really your divine couple? So, regardless if you're married, regardless if you have all these things with someone, it doesn't really prove to me and a lot of people, especially Catholicism's and rule of life and regulations of how things are supposed to be, that it is actually your partner. Because I mean, when you look at life and the planet, and not the planet, but people on the planet, is people wed and people divorce, and people always have issues. And why do people have issues? It's probably because it's not your divine partner.